Hey guys, welcome back. This is probably my number one recovery thing I love to do for any athlete of any age is the cold plunge. I know it's the big hot topic, everybody's kind of doing it, everybody has their unit, so I'm making a brand new one and I kind of wanted to show everybody, if you want to do this, how to do it yourself and do it for a pretty low cost. So right now I have an Insignia branded basically chest freezer. This is from Best Buy. These usually run about $500, but if you wait for like Black Friday, so I'm posting this the week before Thanksgiving, these are on sale at Best Buy's website for $350. They will deliver it to your house, and with taxes and everything, it's about $400 to get it to your house right now. So if you're gonna do this, this is a good time. But usually a President's Day sale, they usually drop it down this, Black Friday, and usually about the week before Christmas you can catch these on sale, I've noticed. So I just bought this new unit here, and just a very simple unit, 14 cubic. Now, they have a 10 cubic feet model that works. I've had friends do those ones, and the thing about the 10 cubic feet models are they're good if you're, I'm 6'1". If you're under 5'10", the 10 cubic's fine. Like, I've been in the 10 cubic, and I can fit okay. It's just really tight. If you're a little bit bigger, 6 feet, you want to get one of these 14 cubic. If you're a really big, like, jacked dude, they sell a 17 cubic feet one. You might want to look into that one. And it's a little bit different for everybody on these setups, and the thing is of course the 10 cubic is going to be cheaper, and as you get bigger, I think the 10 cubic, you can catch those on sale for like $250 right now, and the 17 is probably about $450. I didn't look. I only looked at this 14 because this is kind of the model I used to have before. I just wanted a newer one so I can do it from scratch. So the first thing you do when you get one of these, if it's brand new especially, plug it in. Plug it in, make sure the sides get cold. Don't play around with that. You don't want to paint this unit, get everything done, and find out it doesn't work, because they're definitely not going to take it back. So the first stage of this is it's got this silver inside lining here. You see, I got just a little piece of sandpaper. This is actually 400 grit. I probably could do a lot better with 200, but this is all I got sitting around. You don't need a lot. You just need something to be able to kind of rough the surface up. You don't have to go too crazy. Just hit the whole box. Just give it a good scratch. You'll feel that when you kind of feel it, you'll feel like it'll get a little bit rough. That's all you need. You don't need a lot. I mean, this aluminum on the inside already has a little bit of texture. This is just going that extra step to make sure the stuff sticks. So all this takes a little bit of elbow grease, and you're probably going to spend 10 minutes doing this. Now, we've got everything scratched. We have everything on the inside cleaned out. The next portion of this is you're going to want to tape this section off. Now, this is kind of a preference. I've seen people tape it all the way up to this upper lip, and then they'll paint all of this here. Some people will paint it like, they'll leave tape mark here, and they'll leave a little bit of play. I don't like to do that particularly. So what I do is I tape this top part, and I leave this inside lip here, as you can see, exposed. And when I paint this, I will paint it all the way up, so it catches this, and then it catches this inside edge to help waterproof the whole thing. So regular masking tape. You don't need anything fancy. They got that expensive blue tape. Don't buy that. Just buy something cheap. This is just really, really cheap tape here. And literally, you're going to start at one end, line it up, here. Got one edge. Now I'm going to go all the way around and tape the whole thing. All right, I just finished the last coat of paint. I like to kind of look, make sure I got everything on there as much as I can. If you have any extra left, usually what I'll do is I dump the extra on the bottom and just kind of spread that out so there's a nice thick layer on the bottom, try to smash it in the corners. At this point now we're just going to wait another 24 hours, let it completely dry out, and then I mean, honestly, at that point, we can actually fill the tub up and go into that, but there's one more step that I like to do, and I'll show you guys that next. I will get some waterproof silicone caulk. You can get the gun or you can get just a small tube of it. And I like to go on the very top and put a small line right here on the edge, just to make sure this is completely sealed in on this side here. And then if there's any like kind of open seams like on the bottom here, this Pond Armor will take care of it, but I just like to put an extra bead of silicone all the way around on all the corners and everything, just to make sure it's super watertight and we get no leakage, because if it starts leaking in, that's what's going to kind of start to destroy the unit. So yeah, let's wait 24 hours and we'll do the silicone, and then we'll be filling this thing up pretty soon. All right, so I got a new 2-quart container. I'm going to open up the stuff from yesterday. And also, just to let you guys know, you probably should be wearing gloves when you do this. It just makes it easier so you don't have to clean it off your hands. I'm just being lazy, and you can see I've got some gloves there, I just didn't put them on. Here, I'm going to take the rest of that clear, I'm just going to pour it in. Best I can. Close enough. And then the paint. Same thing. Just pour this in. Best you can. I'll take a little stick here, kind of scrape it out if I need a little bit more. Here, feels about right. Same thing as yesterday. Just take it, mix it up again. You kind of see inside again. Sort of a runny mixture here. It's fine. It's good and mixed. Pour it in my roller, and I'm going to start painting just like I did yesterday. Pour all this in there. Second round, usually you don't need as much paint, but try to goop this in as much as you can. The more you can get stuck on the wall, the more waterproof it's going to be. And also, I don't think I mentioned this the other day, like this is non-toxic. So this is made for like fish ponds and everything, so you don't worry about like some chemical getting out of this, according to the label. So same thing, new roller. Like I said, this stuff sticks so much, and we're just going to start painting away just like we did yesterday. If you made it this far in the video, do me a favor, give me a like, give me a subscribe. It really helps my channel, helps me add more content. You know, I want to build this up to something cool, so like and subscribe. All right, we're back. So it's been about 24 hours. I've let the inside of this dry completely. You just put your hand in there. Feels nice and dry. It's hard to probably see in the video, but I can kind of see the silver coming in. That's why you always put a second coat. So basically, we're going to do the same thing we did yesterday. We're going to mix up some more of the Pond Armor epoxy mix, and it's the same thing. It's it's one part A, 2 part, or I forgot now. I already forgot on this one. Here, let's take a look here. 1 part A, and then 2 parts part B, or half a part B. So usually what I do is whatever's left, just dump that in your container, mix it all up, start spreading it. So yesterday, I tried to leave this in the container. Let's see if this is any good. There's a high possibility this is already dried off too. Let's see what we got. Yeah, you can see it's hard as a rock. That's why when you do these quarts here, just get 2 of them. And that's why I try to save it, but this stuff here, once you mix the epoxy with the paint, it starts to harden instantly, so we're gonna just mix up some more. And here's just a little closer look. You can see I painted on the inside. It's that nice kind of aqua blue-green look here. So this is the first layer. You can see the tape, everything's good. I decided here on the hole, right there, you take the plug out and then I paint it. I even painted the little plastic part. As long as you don't get a bunch of paint in the hole, it's fine. You actually can paint it if you want to. If not, go around it, tape it off, and don't paint it, or just kind of paint around it. I just went over it. I don't really care. As long as you don't get in the hole, you'll be good to go. So that's our first quart. Wait 24 hours and we'll... All right, we got the first coat on. I'll show you a little bit of that here in just a second. But now that I'm done with here, you can kind of see this is the paint left over. This was that container I had. Now, this stuff, when you paint it, it starts to thicken pretty quickly. So you're gonna wanna paint it as soon as you get your stuff mixed, paint it as soon as you can. Like that took me maybe 10 minutes to do one coat on the whole thing. I coated the whole thing, try to do 10. I think like after 30 minutes, it gets like, even now, like you can kind of see like this stuff is already getting really thick and it gets a little harder to paint. Here, it thickens up pretty quick. So that's where I always kind of say, like, you know, like this is a disposable container. I'm going to throw all this away. I'm going to throw that roller top away, and then this will be ready, and I'll put a new roller top for the second coat. So you can see I probably still have, I don't know, barely, I'd say a little less than a quarter quart right now of this extra paint. I put the lid on it. Hopefully it will stay dry enough or wet enough so I can reuse this. If it doesn't, I still have the half a can. And the second coat's even easier. There's a little less paint because you're just trying to finish off the corners and everything. So now the fun part is wait. You know, it's nighttime for me, so tomorrow night I'll come back and I'll put the second coat on. So this paint here, I like to start, I'm going to kind of do this so you can see what I'm doing. I've got it on my hand already. It's kind of like a really thick kind of paint here. You come in here and literally, this is all you're doing. You're just painting this on as much as you can. I'd say the hardest part is getting the corners, because you want to cover that all up, because this will literally water seal this whole unit for you. So you got to really get all the paint in there, into these corners. You really got to kind of shove it in there, and you want to make sure you have good coverage inside the corners. That's probably more important than anything, so it doesn't leak through the sides. And you just keep painting. Paint the whole thing until you've got this nice kind of bluish green paint all over the place. We're gonna let it sit for 24 hours and then we're just gonna do it all over again. Kind of looking, you can see, it's really kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see the second lines there. Once you're there, just mix it up. Oh, almost dropped it. We're gonna mix it all up here. You can kind of see how it's a very kind of like, almost like paint, but a little bit thicker. If the paint feels really, really thick, you're gonna, if it feels really, really thick, you're gonna wanna add a little bit more paint. But if you kind of use this measuring, or if it, like I said, just kind of eyeball the can and say, you know, half and half of each can, and then save the rest for later. Just gonna push that on so it doesn't get dry. I'm gonna mix it up. And once I'm there, just gonna pour some of this roller tray. And for this stuff, this is really hard to clean off, so I highly suggest getting disposable trays and disposable rollers. I know it's not eco-friendly, but this stuff really sticks. It's really hard to clean off. If you want to try, go for it. But I believe you have to have like a mineral spirit or something like that to clean this off. It's just a real pain in the butt to get off. I'm gonna put a little bit in here. Leave the rest here. Let's start painting. So the other thing I like to tell people is when you go to the store, buy this 2.5 quart disposable paint containers here, because it's got these little measuring lines. The Lowe's ones I don't like as much. Lowe's is close to me. I like the Home Depot because it's got a little bit better lines. This Pond Armor here will do about, I believe it's 1.5 quarts. So what I'm going to do is, since it's a half, I'm going to do 16 ounces, which is 1/2 quart. And then I'm going to fill this next line up until it gets about right there in the middle for the epoxy. If you don't have the measuring, just kind of look at the can and pour half and half of each one. You're going to want like another half of this left. Just because you're going to for the second paint job. Just kind of keep going. Mix it in there. The trick I like to do is kind of rotate it off. So another thing I'd like to say is Home Depot, Lowe's, they both sell these here. Make sure you get one of these 2.5 quarts mixing. Also get a little bit of a lid here so you can cap off the top here, but as you can see, it's got the measurements on here. So we're gonna put we're gonna basically put in 1 quart of the paint, and then that's the part A, and then a half a quart of the epoxy there. So 1 quart. I mean, it's even got it mixed there, 32 ounces. So we're just gonna fill that up. I said it's not an exact science. You can see it's kind of thick. There. And when I say this makes I think 1.5 quarts, so I'm not gonna, I made a mistake earlier. Open this one up. Here, you can kind of see that's a clear, that's the actual epoxy. And I did the blue colored. This Pond Armor comes in like 5 or 6 different colors, I think, or maybe it's 4. There's like a gray, a blue, I think there's a black, and I don't know, 1 more color, I think. I've done one in gray, and that's okay. I think the blue looks a little cooler. It's like sort of looks more like a pool. I think the water looks a little bit better, so I always kind of like this bluish kind of green, aqua, whatever color you want to call it. So the nice about, if you go to Lowe's, try to buy one of these 2.5 quart gallon containers. These are usually a couple of dollars, because it's nice. It has like the liters on it, and then if you keep going on this one here, it's got liters, it's got your pints, your ounces, and everything on this side here, and then I believe on this line here there's a bunch of like where you want to mix things up right now. Just a note also on these here, these Pond Armors, it comes with this plastic container thing that's on top. Once you take this off, it's just a traditional paint can. If you ever had one, I've got a little simple paint can opener here. A lot of Lowe's, Home Depot, they sell these for less than $1. A lot of them will actually just give these things to you now if you ask at the paint store. And the same thing with the paint sticks, these are free too. So usually you got to kind of work this thing off. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Usually I'll take this little paint can opener and kind of shove it inside here and try to work this plastic thing off. You're just trying to loosen it up a little bit. And then usually I just take my hand here and start pulling on it hard. There, it pops right off. Sometimes if you're a big, strong dude, you just rip it off, but I don't want to break my fingers. So I just like to loosen it just a little bit. Just kind of stick that in there. Loosen it up a little bit. Same thing with this. Eventually it's going to come off. This one's a lot more stubborn. Also, if you have a better table, I have this little junky table that I'm using here. It's a little easier to pull off. Oh, there we go. All right, there you go, second one. So we got our 2 cans ready to go. Let's pop these open and let's take a look. And also to note, if you look at the can, I'm trying to find it on here, it'll say part A and part B right here on the top. See, that's the part B, that's the part A. And if you feel the cans, the part B is a lot lighter, so obviously you're going to use less of this one here. So for me, the temperature right now is about, I'd say 60-ish in Florida. I'm inside my garage, it's probably upper 60s, so I'm just gonna do like a normal mix of this, where I'm gonna do a half a quart of the part B and then 1 quart of the part A, and I'm gonna put the lids back on because we're gonna wanna paint this thing 2 times. When you put the first coat on, you gotta paint it, and it's gotta wait about 24 hours for it to harden and dry. Once you're at that point, you're basically going to want to mix the second, what's left. Just take whatever's left over and dump it in there, mix that up, and then paint it one more time to make sure everything's really sealed really well. And then you're going to let it sit for another 24 hours before you even attempt to put water in it. All right, and now we're back. So this is called Pond Armor. It comes in 2 cans. You can buy this at Amazon. You can buy it at Home Depot. Sometimes it's a little hard to find there. Best place is Amazon. I'll link that down here. It comes in 2 cans. Basically, one's a paint and the one's the actual epoxy, and you mix together. And if you look on it, they all have pretty simple instructions here. It's saying this is a 1.5 quart container here. And what you're going to be doing is like you kind of break it up. So like there's a part A and then there's a part B, and it has like different sizings in here where it says like a half a quart of part B and then 1 quart of part A. Now, depending on the temperature that you're actually painting this, you're going to want to add a little bit more paint if it's colder, so it's a little bit not as thick. If it's really hot outside, vice versa, put a little bit of less paint so it kind of gets thick, because you kind of want it a little bit thicker so it sticks almost. But it's kind of a science to mix it up. So usually I say buy 2 things of Pond Armor, get one of these 2.5 quart containers here, get a lid for it so you can kind of say what you have. It's a simple paintbrush, and we're going to pop these bad boys open and mix it up. So as you can see, I got it all taped up. I did a double line, so I did the first line to get it where I want the paint to stop, and then I just put an extra one for splash. I mean, you could just do one if you want to. I'm a little bit messy for a painter, so I put it in a line. I've even seen people put like the paper. So now that I have a good wipe, almost all of these units will have some type of drain plug. It's a little white thing here. Go ahead and pop this out here. Just take that out. Make sure you don't lose this. You're going to need it again in the future. All right, so I've gone through this and I gave it a good scratching. After you're done sanding the inside and just kind of giving it that nice little scratch inside just so the paint will stick to it a little bit better, go ahead and just grab like a towel or something like that, and you're going to want to wipe the inside out. It's going to, you know, the metal kind of chips off when you're doing that. So just go ahead and wipe it just so it doesn't get in the paint. Technically, I guess you could not wipe it out, but it's better to wipe it out. Just less stuff for the paint to not stick to. Nothing too crazy, just a quick wipe. So, the first thing you want to do is, you notice on the inside here, it's got this silver lining in it here. You're going to want to get a piece of sandpaper, I'd say 100, 200 grit, probably right around there. And you're going to want to scratch the inside of the surface. And the only reason you're kind of doing this is to prepare the inside of the unit to be painted. So there's a special type of paint, and I'll show you that here. And all the material, just heads up, that I'm showing you here, I'm going to put it in the link below, so you'll be able to see the chest freezer, the Pond Armor, the way I control the temperature and the timing on this and everything. I'll put links for all of that. But first things, let's get some sandpaper and we'll scratch the inside of this. All right, we're back. Everything's completely dry on the inside, so this is sort of an optional last step. I like to come on the edge here and put a waterproof silicone. Right here, you can get at Home Depot, Lowe's, any. And then on the very bottom, all the way around the edges, I'm going to put this right here. So the big thing is, like, only reason I'm using this, I had an extra tube of it. Usually I like to use the gun. It's a lot easier. If you're going to do this and you have one of the caulking guns, it goes a lot faster, but I'm just trying to use this right there. The big thing is when you buy this stuff, make sure that you're buying one that's waterproof. There's a lot of them out there that say water resistance. That's not the one you want. You want the one that says waterproof. And for this one here, when I usually do this, you know, I'll put on these plastic gloves, because what I like to do is I'll get the material there, and then I take my finger and then I gently drag it across to spread it all out across here. So, for example, I'll come here, just start squeezing. This is where the gun comes in really nice, and it kind of doesn't go perfectly, and I don't know if you can see that. And then all I'm doing is I'm just taking my finger and I'm dragging it across and kind of pushing it up into the crease, just to make sure that I've got a nice watertight seal. So I'm going to go all the way around, and on the very bottom I'm going to do the same exact thing. Once I get all this in, this stuff usually dries probably, I think it's like in an hour or 30 minutes. Look on the back, but Before I put water in it, I like to let it sit for another day. I want to make sure it's super dry, everything's good to go, and then the last step really is to fill it up. And then we're going to go over on how I filter the water, and then we'll also talk about how I control the temperatures. There's a lot of different options to do that, and there's a lot of ways to filter the water too. But I'm trying to keep this cheap. Like I usually can build this tub for, especially if I catch this on sale, for under 500 bucks. So let me get this done, and then we'll come back. All right, we're back. I've let this thing sit for another 24 hours. Everything on the inside's dry, and I'll run your hands through, make sure you don't feel anything sticky. Now, this paint does have like a kind of a sticky feeling to it, you know, because it is like basically an epoxy. But just, you know, you just basically warm your hand, make sure you're not getting any paint or any of the silicone is coming off your fingers. Like check the bottom, check everything, you'll feel it, you know, there's nothing coming off my hand, so we're good to go. So, last part of this is just to fill it up. You know, grab a hose from outside. If you are going to use a hose, I highly suggest let the water run a little bit just in case to get any brown or muck or anything. You know, don't want to put any dirty water in here. And usually when I fill this up, I like to go about, I'd say 6 to 8 inches high at most, because when you sit in, the water's going to displace when you come up. I'm about $1.95, $1.90. So about 6 inches. If you're lighter, you could probably put a little bit more. But you know, usually about 6 to 8 inches is where you want to fill it up. So at this point, we just grab our hose, turn it on, and start letting it fill up. I usually let that happen and just let it keep going. Be back once it fills up. All right, we're back. As you can see, I filled the water up, kind of have it at the 6-inch line here. I've actually turned this on maybe about 4 or 5 hours ago. The water's already down to 50 degrees. So the big thing, and pretty much the final point of this, is everything outside of this is kind of optional. So this first unit here, this is a thermometer, of course. And as you can see, it's got this little electrical cable that you throw in there. It'll actually give you the actual temperature inside right now, which is running at 52 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're building one of these, at first, I suggest the first time you do it, you want to be in the 50-degree range, and you're going to probably do like maybe a minute. It takes time to get used to this, but I don't know how to say this. Like I usually keep mine between 33 and 40, and I like to do 6 to 12 minutes, but I've been doing this for years. At the first, when you're doing it, start off at 50, do a minute, then 2 minutes, drop the temperature down to 40, and you'll keep going. It's sort of like a drug. The first hit's good, but after a while, you'll want the water to get colder and colder. It sounds crazy, but trust me, everybody I know who screamed their head off that went into this thing at 40 degrees, like they'll buy one of these units, and within 3 weeks, they're running theirs at 33, 34 degrees. So this thermometer here, this is from a company called Inkbird, and I will send down like I said, I'll put a link at the bottom here. This is the thermometer I like to use, and the main reason I like to use it, I just kind of put it up here so I can see it. Now you can stop here and you can leave there. Now if you see this thing on the wall here, this is also from Inkbird, and this is basically a Bluetooth device. If Bluetooth connects to this automatically, and this has software that you can put on your phone, and you can remotely access it. So I can check the temperature anywhere I'm at any time. So let's say I have the unit and it's at 40, and I notice like, oh, 40 is not enough. I can click it remotely and keep it running. The second part of this is right here, this little switch here. This is from Kasa. This is a TP Link. These are like less than $20, and it's the same thing with this. This here has software for your phone. This will connect to your wireless, and you can access remotely for free. There's no monthly charges for either one of these or anything like that. So it's all free, and this one here, you can set timers to turn this on at certain times, turn off, because when you first set up one of these units, it takes about, I would say, 2 days to 3 days, depending on the time of the year. If it's winter, less, of course. During the summer, it's gonna take more time to get it down to your temperature. Like I turned this on about, I'd say 5 hours ago, it's down to 50 degrees, but I mean, it's probably, I'm in Florida, it's winter time. Of course, if you're from somewhere else and it's a lot colder, this is warm to you, but down here it's pretty cold. It's like 70s during the day, 50s, 60s at night. So probably tomorrow night, it'll probably be under 40, 35, 36 degrees, something like that. But if it's a lot hotter, of course, it takes time. So the big thing is you have to run it constantly at the beginning to bring the temperature down. Once you bring the temperature down, then you're only running the unit, say, 2 to 6 hours a day, depending on how cold you're keeping it on outside temperature. Wintertime, I probably run this thing for 3 hours, plenty of time to keep it cold and keep it in that 30-degree range that I like. During the summer, I usually gotta run it 5 or 6 hours to kind of keep the temperature. But again, this is Florida. It gets really hot during the summer. I have this outside in a steel garage. Not, and if you have this inside your house or somewhere the temperature is a little bit better, it's easier to control. So, but that's the big thing is once you have this running, you run it a couple hours a day, keeps the temperature, and you'll be good to go. And the last part you need for this is a water filtration system. Now, just about any filter will do. You can buy, like, there's a lot of like fish filters you can go through this. The thing that I like, and I just bought, I bought this before, and I already have one. I bought a pond filter. So this is a big unit here that I just throw in the tank, and the same thing. I'll plug it into this, and I run it on a timer. I don't run it all day. I run it for maybe an hour, hour tops. But basically, I just pop this in. Right here, I'm gonna go ahead and do it right now. Let it sink to the bottom. Here, and then this electric cord that goes to it, you literally can just run it on the outside, close it, it'll seal up. Plug it in real quick. Here. And the same thing on this one here, as you can see. You can click it on here. That just turned on the freezer, see? And this one here will turn on the filter and it'll start filtering the water. The water's pretty clean, so I don't really need to filter it right now. But as you can kind of see here, I'll lift this up so you can see a little bit better. You can see the water's getting filtered right through this right here. And the thing that's nice about this is it's got like sponges in on the inside and then like a rock shell at the bottom. It's pretty easy to clean. You just take it outside and rinse it off with water to let it dry. Throw it right back in here. But you can see the water's all running. This is on. But what's nice about this is you can click this on and off and everything turns off. And like I said, it has the app and it's all automated, so it'll run as much as you like. Now, I also know, I've never used one, but I know there's guys that have these like ozone generators that's supposed to help clean the water. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I just use this pond filter and I probably change the water out every 3 to 6 months. You can just kind of look at it and judge. I mean, the water stays so cold that, I'm not worried about germs or anything like that. I'm just worried about stuff floating in the water, and that pond filter clears everything out. If the water's hot, that's when you have to be much more concerned about bacteria and germs and everything. But when the water's this cold, there's not too much to worry about. And I mean, I literally change it maybe 3 to 6 months. I'll drop all the water off, scrub the tank out really, basically wipe the inside of it out, rinse it out really good, fill it back up, and then let it run for a couple days, and you're good to go. So I think the ozone generators are kind of overrated, and I heard they're kind of pricey. I've never really looked into one. And I mean, even the filter I have in here, this is about $130 unit. You can catch it on sale every now and then. There's a lot cheaper options to filter the water. I'll put some of those down in the link too. They work just as good as that, but I kind of like this big pond filter because I don't run it that much. It cleans the water out real quick. So all we have to do now is let this run, wait till the temperature gets down to where I want it to be at, and once it's down, we'll be good to go. We'll come back once the water, and then I'll kind of explain probably how to start in your cold bath and timings and everything, and how often you would probably actually want to do it to see some results. All right, we're back. As you can see, it's probably hard to see in the camera here. Current temperature is 32 degrees. probably ran it a little too long. It's got a lot of ice. I usually like it around 34, 35. So it's a little bit colder, and with the ice inside, it makes it even colder. So the big thing is if you do get too much ice like this, especially if the ice is building up on the side. Like right now, I have, I'd say, a solid 2 inches of built around inside. If it goes too much, like, don't get in the box, you could possibly get stuck. But if you're good with it, like, kind of leave it alone. And the other thing is like, you know, you run this thing on a schedule. So like I said before, you can use the Kasa app and it'll turn off this switch on and off a couple of times. And you know, like I said, you know, I run it at this point. It was at about 34 degrees. I'd be running it about, say, 2 to 4 hours a night. During the summer, 4 to 6 hours a night to keep it around that 33 to 40 degree temperature that I like to keep it at. If it gets like this, I mean, you can almost not run it for 2 or 3 days because there's so much ice in it. It'll keep it cold. That will speed up the process if you still go ahead and get in. If this is your first time ever ice bathing, I highly suggest you don't get in this type of temperature. It's going to be a shock to your system, something you're probably not ready for. I'd say your first time, 40 to 50 is probably an ideal situation. And then start lowering your temperature and increasing your time. Everything I've kind of read said don't do any more than, say, 15 minutes. Like after 15 minutes, it gets super risky, they say. I usually rarely do more than 6. Sometimes if I'm feeling like a little extra, I might do 10 to 12, but I'd say 99% of the time I'm doing about 6 minutes. I like to set my timer. I have a little Alexa up here, and I just set a timer on that, jump in the ice bath so I can run through it, and then that's it. So for me, when I get in, you know, I like to strip down as much as you can. A lot of times I'm just usually in my underwear, something that's keeping this all tight. The other thing is it's a little bit different for everybody. Like some people like to go all the way up to their neck, and they'll submerge their hands and their feet. I usually keep my hands out of the tub. I just don't like my hands getting cold. It's just a personal thing. And a lot of times I'll keep my toes out just a little bit on the edge, just to keep my. I just don't like my toes and my fingers getting super cold. That's just a personal preference. You know, as long as you're getting it up to your shoulders and your neck, and you're completely submerging your body, you're getting the full effect. So if it hurts your hands, I say don't worry about it. So the first thing I tell everybody with one of these units, technically you can get in with it with the filter running and the tub running. I never do that purely out of safety, so don't get in it with power on. Like, turn it off. That's one thing I do like about this plug. It's easy to, right there, that'll turn the filter on. I just check this and I just unturn these off, kills the power of the whole unit. If you really want to be careful, pull it all the way back. I usually just click the buttons. I haven't killed myself yet, and I've been doing this for about 4 years. So let's get in this bad boy. So like I said, you know, I'll say, Alexa, set a timer for 6 minutes and 20 seconds. Alexa, set a timer for 6 minutes and 20 seconds. So I usually give that extra 20 seconds to kind of like get ready. So like before I get in, I like to. And then you hop in. So the breathing really helps you adjust to the temperature, and it helps, as you can see, I did it kind of quick. When you first go in, you're really going to be like, you're going to be really like hyperventilating a lot. That's why I usually suggest not getting in this cold. Like, this is extremely cold, so it takes time. It took me, I'd say, you know, a couple of months to get to this temperature to get used to it. And I probably do ice bathing, say 3 to 6 times a week. I try to do bare minimum 2 times a week at 6 minutes. I just like how I feel when I'm in the unit. I get really, really like, how to say it, like, it like wakes you up. And probably for me, like, one of the biggest benefits I get out of ice bathing, I'd say, is it's really not like the recovery and like the healing of your body, which is supposed to do amazing things. I just like, it gives me like real good clarity, and it makes me feel like $1 million for, I'd say, a solid 2 or 3 hours afterwards. It's like a really good high. So it's a great feeling. It gets super addictive, and you'll start seeing, like, At first you'll start at that warmer temperature, and then you'll start dropping the temperature down more and more to kind of get that high a little bit more. And you can hear in my voice, like I'm like, it's kind of cold. And you can see I'm keeping my toes out and my hands out. Like I said, I just don't like my toes getting cold, but if you like to put your toes in there, go for it. I'm more of a keep my toes out. So the other thing about this is once you're done with your time and you get out, everybody has their own different warming methods. Some people like to work out. Some people like to go into a hot sauna. Some people like to have a hot tub. Like I actually have a hot tub sitting right next to this unit here. Now the big thing is if you're gonna be going into like a hot tub or like a hot sauna or like a steam sauna or something like that, the big thing is you gotta wait a solid, I'd say at bare minimum 5 minutes to 10 minutes before you get in the hot tub. If you read some of the medical stuff, and that's what I read about it, there's a possibility you could get stroke or something like that because, like, you know, during this process right now, all my blood is coming around all my vital organs trying to keep my body warm from dying from hypothermia. So when you get out, you want the blood to naturally go back in your body and not like shoot into your body. So if you go from hot to cold really, really fast, it can be dangerous. It can be very, very dangerous. So if you do a hot tub, if you do hot sauna, like get out, set another timer, say 5-6 minutes, and wait. Like, and usually the general thumb I have is like when you get out, you're gonna feel cold, but like you'll be like, oh, I'm cold, but it feels kind of nice when you're out. But I'd say around the 5-6 minutes mark, you'll start like shivering, like your body's like getting like, your body gets really, really shivery. At least I do. At that point, I usually know I'm pretty safe to get in the hot tub. And usually when I get in the hot tub, I kind of just start at my feet and I slowly get in. And if you do a hot tub, the interesting part about it at first is when you get into the hot tub, like your whole body is like, you'll be freezing cold still sitting in a hot tub that's like 103, 104 degrees. You'll be sitting there like your whole body shivers. I mean, it takes, I'll sit in the hot tub for a solid 30 minutes to an hour to get my body temperature at a good rate, especially at the beginning. And I won't lie, like it hurts actually when you get in the hot tub. Like you can feel like the tingling on your body. I mean, it kind of feels like little needle pricks all over your body as your body's starting to warm up, and then it starts to feel good. So the same thing, you know, wait 5 to 10 minutes. A lot of times in that 5 or 10 minutes, I'll pace, walk around, you know, trying to kind of get my body temperature up naturally before I get into the hot tub. And the same thing, you know, I usually set a timer on my unit up there, on my Alexa, and I'll just set that timer for that time, just so I know, like, okay, I've been out of this thing for at least 5 minutes, so I'm probably safe. I just don't want to get in there too soon. So that's the big thing. So I hope this helps you build your own, you know, your own cold bath. Like I said, I'll put all the links on the bottom. If you've made it this far, you know, please give me a like, give me a subscribe. That really helps me out. And, you know, like I said, you can build one of these from $500 to $1,000. If you like $1,000, you're getting pretty crazy. I think I spent about, probably about $600 on everything here to build this out in just my time. Again, thanks. Stay tuned. Oh man, almost done.
You think you can attain real power through ideas alone? 600 rooms, you say? Sire, 600 is lacking, I think. 6,000 sounds a little more fitting, I say. Quite right.
Alexa, stop. So my timer just went off, so I'm gonna hop out. And on these units, the other thing I kind of suggest for people is be careful when you're stepping on the bottom. It is a freezer, so try not to jump in here or put a lot of pressure on the bottom of the tub. A lot of times I'll use like my weight and kind of pick myself up a little bit, shake off as much water as I can, step out. And now it's kind of the wait time again to wait it out. So Alexa set a timer for 5 minutes. So like I said, I'll kind of just dry myself off, kind of pace around. Try to bring my temperature up a little bit naturally. You can see when you first time you do this, your skin's gonna be probably a lot more redder than mine. That's completely normal. That's pretty normal from the sitting in an ice bath for 6 to 10 minutes. 12 minutes will be pretty rough. So hope you build your unit, hope you try it out, and hope you love it like I do. You know, when I'm done, close the unit up again, and you're good. You know, the timer will take care of itself. I have everything automatic turned on, you know, like I said, it's winter time, so I'm running it about 3 hours right now. Since it is so cold and there is a lot of ice in the unit, I probably won't run it for 2 or 3 days. I'll turn the timer off. You can do that all inside the Kasa app. Maybe I'll do like a demo on that later, but I mean, if you know a little bit about computers, it's super easy to do. I'd say the Inkbird's a little bit more complicated because you have this unit here and then it has to Bluetooth pair with this, but you know, the instructions that came with the Inkbird were okay. They weren't bad. I think you could figure it out pretty easily, but you really don't need this. You only need that, and like, you know, this is pretty cheap, and there's even cheaper units. If you don't care about checking the temperature remotely, I mean, at first I used to do a lot. Now I don't really care. I probably rarely check it, so I really probably wouldn't even use this. I just already had it, so I'll have it. But if that was to break, I'd probably never replace it, and I would just keep some sort of small unit. You could even get like there's a floating unit that you can have that has the temperature on it, and actually Inkbird has one of those too. There's cheaper ones too, like anything will work. You just need to have something so you can kind of see how cold the temperature is, so you can see what you're used to and what you like. All right, man, thanks. Stay tuned.